everybody, it's Mr. Hague again. Welcome to another lesson on Photoshop, and today we are going to study patterns. So before this video we kind of studied about filling with solid colors. Well, now we're going to mix up a little bit. Okay, we're going to add patterns, and I'll show you exactly what it means. Okay, looking at the screen, you'll see that there's several different types of patterns. And what do I mean by patterns? What exactly? Well, all you got to do is Google it. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you. All right, oops, that's not it. That's not it. Let me go ahead and show you. Okay, so if I went onto the Google search bar or on top of the Safari, and if I type in pattern and then I click on images, well, you should see a whole slew of patterns over here. Any one of these you can actually bring in for this lesson if you like. Don't let me stop you. So for instance, this one here looks pretty cool. You can right click, copy the image and bring it onto Photoshop as I had shown you before. I'm going to also use my own image patterns. Okay, so let's go ahead and use those as well. But you're welcome to use any kind of patterns you want to bring aboard. Okay, but before we go into that, let's dive right into Photoshop. I have 1,000 by 1,000 canvas here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead into the marquee tool. Okay, and then I'm going to create a nice little rectangle there. Okay, so I'm going to move this right here. Actually, I'll make it a little bit bigger. Oops, wrong one. If I go to Edit Fill, all right, so if you notice that I have a choice between background, foreground, color, which we just discussed, or there is a selection called pattern. Okay, and let's go ahead and click on pattern, and then what happens is the dialog box changes a little bit. And if you notice that there are different types of pattern that I can choose from if I select this. All right, so there I've got all these different selections, pre-made selections that Photoshop did supply me. Let's go ahead and select the first one here. Let's click on that one and then press OK. And as you can see, that is the end result. Okay, so I've got a nice looking set of lines, angled lines that I'm pretty familiar with. All right, now what I like to do is marquee tool is selected. The new selection tool is selected. Now I can go ahead and move my nice looking rectangle there. And I can ask that you go ahead and, well, select a different pattern if you like. So right click, this time I'm going to do that, fill, and then I'm going to choose a different pattern. Now this time you'll notice that you can actually create subcategories: trees, grass, water. Let's choose water. Water is always a good thing. Let's go ahead and click on that, and I double click on the water icon, and as you notice here, it appears in this selected pattern. I'm going to press OK, and well, I guess that's water. Not sure if that's a swimming pool or a bathtub. Whatever works, there's water. Okay, so with that being said, we are going to now go into something else. Okay. Okay, and that's something else. If you look at, and let me go ahead and get rid of the pattern here, and let me just kind of clean things up a bit. So we've already got preset patterns covered. Now we're going to talk about importing patterns. Okay, so let's kind of figure this out. First of all, you should refer to your exercise files, and this time it will be exercise files and episode ep11_1. There it is right there, and you'll see that I've got two different types of patterns there. Looks like something that was knit or shoelace, whatever that might be. And then I've got the top of, well, kind of looks like there's trees, aren't there? All right, so we can use these, and be aware, okay, that these both images are pretty heavy. So if I click on this one where the trees are, okay, there's the trees again, and you'll notice that the size is pretty intense, almost 4,000 by 3,000. Okay, so we need to bring that in and shrink that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask that you bring this in, right click, open with Photoshop, or you can file open in Photoshop, and you'll notice that, look at this, is really nice. Must be a drone kind of footage here. And then I'm going to go to image, and I'm going to try and shrink this. So I'm going to go to image, image size, okay, image, image size, and then let's bring it down to 1,000, shall we? A little bit more manageable. There it is. If you notice on top, this is 25% of the image. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead, and there's my toolbar. I'm going to click on the magnifying glass. Okay, and then I'm just going to increase it. Notice as I keep pressing, it's up to 50%, 66%. That's at 100%. So that's the actual size of the image itself. And we'll go ahead and refer to this. Now, the first thing you need to do when it comes to having your own pattern is you need to select an area. Okay, so let's just select this area right here. Then you're going to have to define this pattern. Defining means you have to tell Photoshop this is an actual, you have to tell Photoshop that this is an actual image. I'm hoping that that I'm able to record this, okay? So you have to tell Photoshop that this is an actual pattern. All right, and how do we do that? Well, basically, you can right click and you can select fill, okay? Actually, what you're doing now is you're telling Photoshop that this is going to be a pattern that you want to save. That's when you go to edit and you go down to define pattern. There it is right there. So you select that, okay, and a dialog appears, and you'll notice that it'll say pattern number 1, which is the default name for all new patterns, okay, but obviously we're not going to name this. We'll call this top of trees, and then press OK. The next thing we want to do is make sure we save this pattern appropriately. In other words, we need to make sure that it's categorized. Right now, if I was to go into a brand new canvas, and let's go ahead and create a new canvas. File, new, 1,000 by 1,000. There you see it. Pixels over 72. White background. Press create. There we have it. Now, if I was to make a selection here, and I want to fill it with that pattern, I right click, fill, and before you do anything, notice where this appears. This appears down here. All right, well, the appropriate thing to do is to move it under trees, okay? That's where it should be. And supposedly I can move it here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and move it there, and that's where it belongs. Okay, another way to move this, and I'm going to go ahead and, well, I guess I'll go ahead and press OK. And there it is right there. Notice that the entire area is selected with that pattern. And what I was going to say is that if you click on help and then you click on pattern, type in pattern in the search bar. Okay, so you'll see there is a window. Actually, if you go up to window, just like there are layers and there's the history palette, there's actually a patterns palette. So if you click here, okay, you'll notice that you can control the different patterns. So here we've got the trees. As you can see, we've got different trees. This is the one we just put in. We've got grass and we got water. And if I wanted to create another one, let's go ahead and create another one. Okay, there it is right there. And this time, let's call it, let's press on the okay, hold on a second. We want to create a new group. Okay, so what's going to happen? Okay, so here what we're going to do is we're going to create a new group. Okay, now if you move the cursor over these little icons in the lower right, it'll say create new group. Okay, this plus sign, create a new pattern, which means that's what we just did. We create a new pattern, or we can delete a pattern, whatever the case may be. Okay, so if I want to delete this guy right here, which looks like a colossal mess, I will go ahead and press the trash can, and it'll ask me, do I want to delete the pattern sleeve? I'll just say okay. We can always bring it back. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new group, click on this folder right here, and then this dialog box will appear. Okay, group name. Let's call this cloth, C-L-O-T, which means things like yarn and socks, clothing, things of that nature, okay? And let's go ahead and press OK, and there it is right there, waiting for us to put in a new pattern. All right, so what we'll do now is I'm going to refer you to this pattern right here, the second one. And as you can see, it kind of looks like, well, something to do with clothing or cloth, okay? I thought it might be a shoelace thing. At any rate, go ahead and right-click, open with Photoshop, okay, if you can do that. Otherwise, go to File, Open, and then go ahead and find it wherever it is in your folder structure here. All right, I already have it open. I believe it's right here. There it is right there. I'm going to move this over. Notice that I've selected this, okay? In other words, I went ahead and I selected. However, before we do that, you got to make sure that the image size, okay, look at the size of this image, 3,000, over 3,000 pixels. That's going to be too big. So I want to shrink this down to 1,000. Okay, and when we do that, you'll notice that here, on the top of the tab here, it'll say that this particular image is 16.7% of the actual image. It's kind of small, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep pressing, using the zoom button here, the zoom icon. I'm just going to keep pressing until it reaches 100, which is at 50 now. So it might be still too big, okay? Because notice how large it is. Well, let's go to image size, and let's shrink it down to 500. There it is right there. Okay, well, that's a little bit better. Let's stick with that. All right, so the first thing, of course, we selected the cloth, or we have our image here that we want to create a pattern. Let's go ahead and select the marquee tool. I'm going to choose always a rectangular marquee tool. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select an area. Now you can select the whole thing if you like. If you want to select the whole thing, cool. Just go ahead and select the whole thing. And then what you're going to do is you're going to edit. You're going to define pattern. Okay, edit, define pattern. That's step number 2. Or that's the next step. Now what we're going to do is we are going to name this pattern. Okay, and let's call it shoelace. And then press OK. And all the while, I still have my patterns dialog box here, okay? So that is from Window and Patterns right there. So you notice that I still have this over here, and lo and behold, it's under Cloth, but not really, okay? So it's actually under Cloth. I don't know why it ended up there. It just ended up there. But I can move this wherever I want to, okay? But I'm going to keep it at Cloth. There it is right now. So assuming that any new pattern will appear at the very bottom. Oh, it did make it in there. Okay, so I guess I do have to move it in here. So I'm going to click this and move it into Cloth. You'll notice that the Cloth area with the folder is highlighted, and I'm going to release, and when I do this, there it is right there. Pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and into an empty canvas, which is the one we just created, the trees. Marching ants are marching. The marquee tool is selected. The new selection tool is selected. I'm just going to move this down. And now I'm going to right click, fill. I'm going to go ahead and select pattern. Then I'm going to go ahead and select cloth. There it is. I'm going to select, there's my icon. I'm just going to double click. I'm going to press OK. There I have it. Easy. All right. let's go on to the next video where we use custom